The technology that they have is far beyond anything you can imagine. It is consciousness-based technology. And I'm going to tell you something. The light that people see on the ships when they go into the ships, the light is source consciousness. It is God. It is reality itself flowing through the ship, which means the ship is alive. The ship is alive with consciousness, pure divine consciousness.
Welcome to Galactic Good Vibes, a Good Vibes TV original series where we hold grounded, heart-centered conversations with first-hand experiencers who've had direct contact and are stepping forward during this pivotal era of disclosure. Today, I'm joined by Natalie Hill, the CEO of the United Experiencers Initiative, and a firsthand experiencer with over 17 years of UFO activity and 2 years of direct contact experiences. Natalie has stepped forward to support experiencers, reduce stigma, and help humanity navigate disclosure with compassion and clarity. I'm honored to share her story with you. Welcome, Natalie, from Tennessee.
Thank you so much for having me today. We're going to have a blast. We got a lot to talk about. And this is what I do. This is my main job on this planet.
Well, I'm so glad to be interviewing you. I started this series because I felt like there really was a need to find out from experiencers. Now, I will disclose I am not an experiencer, but I am a believer. I definitely know that I totally accept that there are ETs, many ET civilizations, and I've been learning myself just about them. I've tried to make contact. I've seen some things in the sky, but it's not definitive enough for me to say. Like, for me, experience, I want like direct contact, and kind of that's my standard for calling myself an experiencer. So I'm very excited to be able to talk with you today. Now, before you started having these UFO experiences, Natalie, how would you describe your life? What path were you on before you started with the UFOs?
I've always just been very a logical person. I'm very grounded. I love science, biology, all the math, quantum mechanics, all that stuff. And I've always loved science fiction, and I've always been drawn towards alien movies and alien games and stuff. But I didn't make the connection of why I had that connection till later. But I'm just just an average, really geeky girl, whatever word they're using nowadays. Yeah, I was living my life, and I'm happy. I'm still happy. I'm even more happy than I was. But I am even more happy that they made contact with me and helped me realize why I'm here. Otherwise, I had like this my whole life. I had this feeling in my heart, like I wanted to help humanity. I wanted to do something, and I didn't know what it was, and I felt kind of lost in that area. But now I am on the right track, and I know what I need to do.
So you said you had an out-of-body experience when you were 13. Was that your first UFO experience, or can you tell us about your first one?
So I saw a girl in a glass box, like a pretty big box, not too cramped, but she had black hair. She was a human. She had black hair to her shoulders, and she was wearing a nightgown. And she was banging on the glass, and she was afraid and crying. And then the ETs noticed my presence, and they turned and looked at me, and I went instantly back into my body and woke up, and I was like, what was that? Like, that was insane. And my mom brushed it off as a dream, and it stuck with me for forever. So it'd be a long time after that before I had any contact. But I think somebody or something was showing me that there was more going on in the world, in the universe, and it's kind of planting those seeds. And I feel like they planted those seeds throughout my life and kind of directed me a little bit to help me wake up.
So that was your first encounter. And then when was your next one? When did it become a regular thing?
I started seeing UFOs right when almost like a week after I moved here to Tennessee. And it started out as like orbs in the sky and sometimes triangle crafts in the distance, and then it started escalating. December 23rd, 2008 is when I saw my first flying saucer, and that was one of the biggest turning moments of my life. I was in my front yard facing the north, and I had my camera on a tripod. And I was actually using a method of blocking the sun, looking for things in the sky. Like you can see things reflecting when you block the sun. It's a really interesting thing you can do. But anyway, I was doing that, and then I looked to my right towards the west ridge, and there was a flying saucer. It was about 20, 30 feet in diameter. It was all gray, dark gray metallic, and it was a dome. The whole thing was a dome, and then it stopped and went to a flat bottom. And when I made eye contact with this thing, it's like my whole time, everything stood still. It felt surreal, and I just felt like it was a dream. I was like, oh my god, this is not happening. This is crazy. This is wild. And I was just like, and then everything just started calming down. And then I felt like they knew I was looking at them, and I felt like my consciousness was linked to the ship somehow. Like I was on the ship looking back at myself almost. And I was just like in awe of this moment. And then when I finally came to my senses and kind of pulled myself out of that trance, I whipped my camera around, and it was gone in a blink of an eye. It was like it was never even there. But I saw a tiny little glimmer in the distance, directly away from where it was. So I kept recording, and I zoomed in a little bit, and I actually got a little footage of that craft in the distance. It looks like a little metallic dot shining, and then I blew up a still shot of it, and you can kind of see it looks like a dome. But anyway, that experience changed my life forever and made me the woman I am today. Honestly, that's when things started opening up more, and they had started coming around closer in the skies.
Did the experiences happen more frequently then? Weekly, daily,
Okay,
monthly? Yeah, tell us more.
so after that, they would give me some periodic time to like relax and soak in the encounters and stuff, and I started recording them constantly. Like I had a camera on me everywhere I went, and I would camp outside in the cold weather, no matter what day it is, what season it is. I was out there, and I caught hundreds of different videos of all kinds of stuff. I started encountering like I saw a black triangle craft right over my house one night. It literally was like almost hovering still and like moving very slowly, and went right over the house. And that was something that I encountered, and it was just a real brief thing. And I was like, what? I was that one left me in shock for a minute. I was like, oh my god, this is wild. um I saw the three orb formations constantly, and try the other triangle crafts in the distance further away. And then I would see lights coming up from the mountain out here in Tennessee. They would come up and stop and just blink out. It's absolutely amazing. Fast forward a little bit, I started becoming spiritual. I started moving away from religion and becoming more spiritual and going more into myself about probably 3.5 years ago. And I noticed at some point when I reached a certain spiritual development of love for myself and others in a non-egotistical way, they started contacting me in my dreams. First, it was very vague. And the first dream encounter I had, I was on a bed. I was in my bed, but I was in the yard. I was in the front yard. And I was laying down, and I heard some weird noises in my head. It was really weird. And then it was like they were connecting cables, like rearranging cables and connecting cables to my brain, as to maybe give me an idea of what they were doing. Like they were helping me connect and reprogramming something probably in my DNA or my aura. But while they were doing that, I saw four, no, not four. It was probably like 10 grays standing on the mountain. I seen them in my peripheral in the dream. They were very blurry, but I knew they were grays. They were standing on the hill, and they were looking down at me while they were doing that surgery. And then I woke up. So that was like the first dream contact that I had. They started contacting me more in my dreams. It started becoming more clear, and I started having more lucid dreams, and they would literally start talking to me. And there was one time where I found myself in a lucid dream, and I was in an arts and crafts room, and I was playing with a hot glue gun, and I was like, oh cool, I'm gonna make glitter glue come out of this gun. And so I did that, and I heard a being behind me. Like, I couldn't turn around to look at him or anything, but I heard a being behind me, and he said, why do you love us so much? And I said, and I knew it was them instantly. I knew it was the ETs at large, whatever race. It didn't matter to me. They're all the same. They're all beautiful, connected. But I said, because you guys are amazing. Because you love us so much, and I love you so much, and we're going to do so much great things together. I could feel it. And they said, okay. And then there was another male. They were both male, and there was another male behind him, and I felt like psychically behind him. And he said, when are you going to start your movie? And I was like, movie? What are you talking about? And then the other guy said, I don't think she's supposed to know about that yet. So I was like, what is going on here? And then I woke up. So that was interesting, and that does come into play in my story. At this point, I'm telepathically in communication with them, and I can hear them in my mind. It's like a feeling in your heart, and you just know. It's like sometimes it's an intuition, it's a feeling, it's love, and it's usually here in the center, and they feel you with so much love. But sometimes it's also an idea or a concept in your head or an urge to do something, and all that combined together. One night, they gave me the urge to sit down and go to Photoshop, and I made a symbol with their direction. They helped me design it, and I said, okay, what is this symbol for? And they said, it's for disclosure, but you'll know what it's for later. And I was like, what? And I was like, okay, whatever. So I was like, I put it on a flag, I put disclosure on it. We are disclosure. I got so excited about the symbol, and I love it. Now it's the symbol of the United Experiences Initiative, but we'll get to that. So they gave me the symbol, and I didn't know what to do with it other than put it on the flag and just show it to the world and say, hey, this represents disclosure. So around this time, I started getting taken onto the ships. And I'm going to tell you about the first time and the second time, and I'll leave the third time for a little bit later. But the first time in 2024. Now, mind you, I have been taken my whole life. These are abduction experiences that I have experienced at the time, like of remembering it. So I was taken at 2 years old, but that was not gathered later until I did regression therapy. So this happened in 2024. And I went to sleep, as one usually does in their bed. I woke up in the middle of the night. I was vibrating. Now, before I tell you this, I always tell everyone there's two different types of ways that extraterrestrials can take you. They can take you physically, or they can take you out of body. This particular experience was out of body. So in the middle of the night, I started vibrating, and I started floating up out of my bed, and then I was flipped around. And then I saw my physical body laying in the bed, and I was like, oh my God, I'm out of my body. This is insane. And I just felt like relaxed though, and I was happy, but I knew that they were in control. But I knew I didn't have anything to worry about. So they flipped me back around. I saw the ceiling again, then they flipped me this way, then back this way, almost like they were scanning me or calibrating me or something. And next thing I know, I black out. And then I find myself waking up standing on the ship. Now, mind you, I'm pretty sure I'm still in energetic form or aura form, but I'm standing there in this dark room, and there's these beings standing on my left and right side. They're gray, some type of gray beings. There's many different types of grays. And I didn't feel threatened. I didn't feel scared or anything, but they started like tapping my body, and they had extra long fingers, and they were gray. And they started tapping my body, and it was more than two. It was a whole bunch of them. and it was almost like they were just checking me, like giving me a pat down or whatever. And and I thought it was normal, and I was like, okay, this is like a normal procedure. I felt like I've done it before. And then I black out again. And then I wake up sitting in a chair. Now in my mind, they made me remember it in certain ways, but I know I was in a chair, but it was like a wooden chair, the way I remembered it. But I was in a chair in another dark room, and I heard the ET by my right side. It was another gray, and he said, "We're gonna drill your leg now." And I said, "Okay." I was just like, yeah, I was just so relaxed and happy. They just, yeah, they're in full control, but I wasn't scared. But anyway, I looked down and I saw him approaching my upper right leg with this drill. Now, in my mind, I perceived it as like a drill from a tool shed, like a normal drill bit. But he started drilling into my leg, and it only hurt just a little bit. And I think this whole procedure was a representation of them working on my energy body. So they started drilling into my leg, and it only felt like a shot, like a really intense shot that you would get from the doctor. But I was like, okay, that's a little uncomfortable, but it's okay. And I was like, cool. And I've always watched doctors stitch me up and stuff in the hospital, so that doesn't really bother me. So he got to my bone, and I started like hyperventilating a little bit, like I was freaking out a little bit. And he was like, shh, it's okay, it's all right. And then I passed out. And then I found myself waking up in another dark room, and I'm sitting in this other chair, and there's a table in front of me, and there's another chair on the other side of the table facing me. And this woman comes in with curly red poofy hair. She has a round face, and I can't really see her facial features too much, or they didn't let me remember. She comes in, she walks around my left side and sits right in front of me, and she starts asking me questions, and it felt like an evaluation. It felt like she was asking me questions to do with something that I'm supposed to do here on this planet. But other than that, I don't know what the questions were. So after that, I completely blacked out and woke up back in my body, and I was like, oh my God, I was on the ship last night. It was absolutely insane. But so that's important for my story. This happened June 6th, 2024. And the other one happened January 6th, but this is June 6th, 2024. And so about 2 weeks before this event, I went to the dentist, and I had some teeth taken out, and they had to give me anesthesia, liquid anesthesia. And my body didn't really react too well. We'll talk about that later. I kept feeling groggy and tired like the next 2 weeks after the procedure. So I was in contact with the ETs at the time, which I call the Galactic Federation sometimes. And I said, okay, something is going on with my brain. I think the anesthesia has messed me up somehow. And I just, put in a really polite request. I was very humble about it. And you have to be humble. You have to be respectful and go about it with love. But I was like, I can't do these live streams. I can't help the world if I'm feeling like this. And I went to bed. And then I woke up like nothing happened. And I had red grid marks on my back, 2 red grid mark patterns. And it's actually called the red grid mark phenomenon. You can look it up on Facebook. There's like 2 Facebook groups led by Brian, I think his name is. Amazing guy. He's the researcher of it. But anyway, I woke up with these marks on my back. They weren't indentions. They didn't itch. They didn't burn. They didn't sting. Nothing. I didn't even know they were there. My girlfriend saw them when I got out of bed. And they lasted for 5 days and slowly turned into a light sunburn and faded away. But the most important part is when I woke up with these marks on my back, I felt amazing. I felt like I could run a marathon. I was just like, oh my God, that was so full of energy, like a B12 shot or something. And so the whole day I went to work. I was so excited. I was so happy. And that night before I went to sleep, I was like, okay, please, come clean with me. What happened? I need to know what happened. Can you show me something or tell me something? I want to know what happened. How did you do that? What is going on here? So I went to bed, and I woke up on the ship. I was literally laying on the table, and I'm pretty sure it was a memory being unlocked or given back to me. Now, I maybe they took me again. I think it was a memory though. That's what my instinct's telling me. But I was laying there on the table. It was a white table, a white room. Everything was super clean and beautiful and just loving. It felt amazing on the ship. It always does. And I'm laying there, and I have a tube. I can feel a tube in my right nostril and a tube in my right ear. And I knew there was something there, and I knew instinctively that it was a tube. Somehow I just knew. I was like, okay, they've got tubes in me. And I tried to look to my left and my right, and I couldn't. My head was just like paralyzed just enough to where I couldn't move my head. But I could look down. I lifted my head and looked down at the end of the table, and I saw 4 or 5 beings standing there, all dressed in tight blue suits. All had blonde hair. They were all male, very muscular. And collectively in my mind, they said, "Shh, it's okay." And then I passed out. And I woke up in my bed, and I was like, oh my God, yes, it was the Pleiadians. Thank you so much. I was just so grateful that they showed me what happened.
Did they explain? Was it like a B12 shot? What was that treatment for? Did you find out?
They didn't really go into detail about the procedure. They were just showing me that they did have a hand in it, that's what happened. I don't remember anything going on with my back. I was laying on the table, so maybe the table left the mark somehow.
Okay. And how long did that energy last for you?
Oh, for about 4 days, and it kind of tapered off back to normal, but it was like a boost. Absolutely.
Okay. So that you think maybe you were taken physically?
Yes,
as opposed
that was,
to
yeah.
Okay. Was that the
was a
first physical experience, you think?
Yeah, it was the first physical experience that I remember. Now, I know I've been taken many other times. I'm having flashbacks come back here and there. Different things trigger flashbacks. I really knew I need to do a lot more regression therapy. But so that's the first physical experience that I experienced at the time of remembering it. Let's just say that.
So that was June of 2024. And so since then, are you communicating with them just telepathically whenever you just want to talk to them? Or you have to wait to get the answers, you have to wait till you go to sleep?
I could talk to them any time of the day. It doesn't matter. Usually, like, my mood affects my capability to contact them. So if I'm in a really agitated mood or something, it's not going to be that well of a connection. But if I'm very relaxed, if I had a good day, it's going to be a lot easier for me to contact them. So I just relax, fill my heart with love, because telepathic communication, this is what I teach everyone. Telepathic communication is not mind to mind. It's soul to soul. It's heart to heart. So the more love you have in your heart, the more calm you are, the more you're going to be able to contact them, the easier it will be. But yeah, I can contact them anytime. I'm usually in a good mood most of the time anyway. So I had this urge one night to create this organization to help humanity. And it wasn't just me. I was in a group of a few other people, and they all had the same urge to create a nonprofit for experiencers. But some things happened, and turns out I'm the only one that kind of went through with it. So I was going through with it. I started trying to come up with a name for the organization, which I settled on the United Experiencers Initiative. And then I realized it clicked in my head and my heart, and everything just went, ah. The symbol that they had given me was the symbol for the United Experiencers Initiative. And they said, in my mind, that's it. You've made the connection. Now make it a thing. So I was like, okay, I don't know business. I don't know any of this stuff. I'm like, why me? Why me? But they're like, somebody has to do it. But I agreed to do this when I came here to this planet. So I'm learning, they're reactivating things in my mind. We'll get to that. So fast forward a little bit. After I ordered some business cards for the future and everything. And then they give me a vision in my dream. And I'm standing in the desert. And they said, there's a plane going overhead, and it was pulling a banner. those little advertising banners, and it said, "Have you been to the desert lately?" And they had coordinates behind it, and I don't remember the coordinates when I woke up, but I had coordinates behind it, and it was just going overhead, and I was like, "Whoa!" And then I woke up. I still get chill bumps over that one. I woke up, and I was like, "Wow, that was not just a dream. That means something." I felt that in my heart that means something, and I was like, "What does that mean? The desert, the desert." So I was like, "Okay, if when I'm meant to figure it out, it'll come back up. I'll see a sign or something." So I just kind of let it go. And about a month or 2 months later, I wish I'd broke down the timeline, but I see an ad for, this is where my story gets absolutely insane. I see an ad for Contact in the Desert, and it's this alien convention. If nobody knows what that is, it's this ET convention, and it's the world's biggest ET convention with the most important people and disclosure, and everybody gets together for a whole week. Absolutely amazing. But I was like looking at this ad, and I felt them in my mind and my heart and my whole body. They were like, "That's it. That's it. You've got to go to Contact in the Desert." And they made that connection in my mind. They helped me. The desert, the vision, and Contact in the Desert. And I was like, "Oh my God." I still get chill bumps over that one. So I was like, okay. They were like, "You need to go and advertise and network for the United Experiences Initiative." I was like, okay, first of all, I've never networked before. I've never gone on a vacation by myself before. And like I'm doing all these adult things for the first time, and I'm like, oh, but I'm also excited. And I'm also like pumped up about it. So I was like, how am I going to get there? How am I going to make this work? Right. So I was like, all right, I'm going to get a loan. So I had to get a loan to pay for the business trip. So this is very crazy. It's going to get crazy here. So 2 weeks before I get on the plane, my wallet was stolen out of my car. Okay. So my ID, my social security number, everything was stolen out of my car. And I was like, how am I going to get on the plane? I have no ID. I have no social security card. So I was racking up documents. I was like piling them this high to be able to get on that plane. Like everything I could prove that I'm here, in the United States. And at the same time, the TSA was cracking down and hearing stories about people not being able to get on the plane. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to go. I'm not going to get there. I didn't have enough faith. So 1 week before I get on the plane, they issued the special ID or the real ID. And I was like, oh my God, this is getting worse. I'm not gonna be able to get on this plane. I was I was breaking out, and I was stressing that so much. And so I had already ordered my license, and I got a little receipt, but they told me that wouldn't help me get on the plane, and I didn't have my social security card. It didn't come until way after. That was crazy. But so the day before, now get this is wild. The day before I go to get on the plane, my work offers me VL. It stands for voluntary leave. So they gave me the day off because they had too many people. So I was like, I accept. I'd like to take this VL today, the day before my trip or possible trip. I was like, heck yeah. So I leave work, I get to my car in the parking lot, and I'm sitting there, and then I hear them in my heart and in my mind. They said, go to the DMV and apply for your real ID. And I was like, it's not gonna work, but okay, still, I should, now I have way more faith in them now. I don't question them at all. But I went, I applied for that, and then I had to get some other paperwork for the courthouse. So they said, go to the courthouse, get that paperwork. Yeah, this is two different things. Same day. They said, go to the courthouse and get that paperwork. And the courthouse was a breeze. I went right through and got the paperwork. And when I went to the airport, first of all, the big giant stack of documents that I collected, I put them in my suitcase, and they packed it under the plane, right? And I'm like, oh my God, I screwed up. But I had an envelope with those pieces of paper that I got the day before my trip and a few other things. I still had that paper, the envelope on me, and I was like, oh, thank God, maybe that'll be enough. When I got to the TSA line, and he called up the guy and he asked me some questions and everything because I had to communicate with someone else. And he hung up and he said, that's weird. They usually take forever to answer, and I wouldn't have been able to get on the plane if it took longer. So that's number one thing. And then he said, you're good to go. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, oh my God. I could breathe. I was like, this is happening. This is happening. So, yeah. So those 2 pieces of paper that I got that day before the plane trip is what got me on that plane. How insane and beautiful is that? It still gives me chill bumps. Oh my God.
So maybe the lesson in all of that was for you to trust them more. Like you said, your faith increased in knowing that they're working with you even from the other side. So it kind of reminds me of people talk about, I come from more of a metaphysical background, our spirit guides, our angels, our, higher self in this, that if we communicate, genuinely with them, and listen, really, it's our intuitive, if we listen, we're good,
Right.
and it's important to remember that. So, and I wanted to make a comment too about what you said, why me? Why did you pick me to do this, initiative? And I think it's your willingness, because it seemed, those experiences that you talked about being brought onto the ship, whether it was telepathically or physically, you were so willing and open
Mhm.
that, a lot of people, you hear about these other stories that people are so fearful and it's so traumatic for them. But you were so willing and trusting and open that, they can work with you more. So I guess that's what I'm taking from your story, not to fear them, because that
Exactly.
fear is what, like you said, and fear and love are opposites on the spectrum. What happened when you got to contact in the desert? What kind of
Oh,
miracles and
okay.
things happened there?
So let's turn the page in the story. Completely new chapter now. Okay, so I met so many amazing people, even on the plane going there, and just like people, everybody was just so nice, so happy. I love California, by the way. It was in California. Um, so I had to go to one hotel and then the main hotel for the events. But when I got to the first hotel and packed in for the night, and I was laying there in bed, and I said, okay, if you guys really want me to do this, if you're on my side, I need you to help me a little bit more, because I was like, I've never networked before. I've never like talked about an organization or tried to do any of this stuff before. So I just put that out there, and then I went to sleep, and I woke up, and I woke up with this most amazing just surge of energy. I felt like a laser beam. I was just like, and I felt like I had been activated, and it felt like I knew how to network. I knew how to do like basic business stuff. I'm still learning the technical stuff, but like the basic how to talk, when to listen. And the whole time they were telling me in my mind, they said, shh, listen, and now you can talk. So they were kind of guiding me a little bit throughout the trip as well. But they also activated me, and I just felt like I was just like, I was in my element. Like when I say I was in my element, I was a fish in the ocean, and it was a beautiful ocean, and it was amazing. I wish I could have lived in that week forever. That would be my heaven. I was surrounded by people just like me, and I just sorry, I'm getting emotional. But I talked to a lot of important people in disclosure, and I now have a lot of connections because of that trip. And it's really helped the United Experiences Initiative so much, and it's bloomed out from that to many other connections. Like I know this person now because I know that person, and it's like planting a seed, and it just grows. And now the UEI is growing at an exponential rate and making connections behind the scenes. And we're about to break that surface of the dirt, and we're about to explode into a giant tree and a forest. It's going to be amazing. But anyway, kind of let me calm down a little bit. I get excited. So at the events, I actually met two Pleiadians in person, physically, physically in public. And I'm going to tell you that encounter. So I was standing like maybe 10 feet away from Chris Bledsoe's booth, and he was talking and everything. You know, he likes to talk a lot. um, so there was these two women standing in front of his booth, and they were kind of like further back, and he was talking to some other people, but they were like behind these other people, and they were just observing very delicately, very elegantly, and they had their hands like this or something like this. I can't remember exactly, but they had their hands cupped in front of them, real gracefully, like down to their waist, and they were just like smiling and listening, being very quiet. And I noticed their energy was like really off, like not off, but like different. And I felt like a different vibration was coming off of them. And they had blonde hair. They were both female, and their skin was very pale, and they had blue eyes, and they were wearing black velvet. So I walk up to them, and immediately they looked at me. Like, I didn't have to say anything. They just looked at me, and I immediately in my mind thought, oh my God, these are Pleiadians. And something happened. It was like something just went, and then I completely like lost track of my thoughts. And then I was like, okay, that's weird. And then I started talking to them about the United Experiences Initiative and gave them my business card. But the whole time they were just like, They didn't even say, They just was like shaking their head, like nodding their head, and just being so kind and so sweet. And the other one was standing beside her, and she looked over. She was just looking over at me like this. And they didn't really move too much. They just was watching me. And I noticed the black velvet was like really shiny and thick. And I was like, wow, it's very hot. It was very hot in California. It was in May. So I was like, that's weird. But it was like they got into my head and made me forget what I was thinking about them being Pleiadians. Right? And then I didn't realize it till later when I got home all the way to Tennessee. It was like something was just like lifted off of me, and I was like, oh my God, those are Pleiadians. I literally handed my business card to two Pleiadian women at Contact in the Desert, and I wasn't the only one that saw them. There was a few other select people that actually saw them at the event as well, so that's a little confirmation. But their hair was so thin and so shiny and gold, and oh my God, their energy is just so fantastic and so calming, like angelic, and just so beautiful. Oh my gosh.
Wow, that's amazing. So I guess they didn't think that anyone would notice them.
Yeah, they some ETs like Pleiadians and others have the ability to like shield themselves psychologically from other people, so they can get to make them kind of like go invisible, like kind of like a psychic trick to make you not see them. But some people whose frequencies are high enough in the love, you're able to see them. So you're at that frequency level.
Right, because it's all about energy. Wow.
It's beautiful.
So are there more stories to share from Contact in the Desert, or?
Yes, a little bit more.
Okay, tell me more.
So let's see. We actually captured a few UFO videos from Contact in the Desert. I was having dinner with some friends that I made there, and an orb showed up right in the sky behind us. And I had my camera ready. It was already on the tripod sitting next to us in the dinner. It was like an outside public dinner area. But I was like, oh my God, there they are. So I took my camera and recorded them. So that was one event. And then later we saw two faint orbs like right next to each other going across the sky, and I got that on camera as well. I had to like enhance it to see both of them, but they were in there. And so the whole trip was absolutely magical, absolutely amazing, mind-blowing, life-changing, and I made so many connections. So when the whole trip wrapped up, I got on the plane. After about, I can't remember exactly, maybe 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes being on the plane, I had this feeling to look out the window. And I look out the window, and there's this cigar-shaped craft literally flying right outside the plane. Literally like about probably 300, 500 feet away from the craft, from the plane. And I was like in shock for a minute. I was like, what am I looking at here? And my logical mind was trying to like figure out what I'm looking at. And I was like, oh my God, that's a craft. And so pulled up my phone really fast. And for some reason, I just took pictures. I was like, picture, 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 instead of hitting record. But I got a series of pictures of that craft over the desert. And it was estimation about 6-7 feet long, about 2-3 feet in diameter thickness, and it was white and kind of flat. But it was a cigar shaped craft, and I'm recording. I'm like taking pictures, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, do I say something? do I say something and sound like a crazy person to all these people, and like they might like put me in custody? Because the thing is, when you see stuff, not other people may not be able to see it because sometimes they can show themselves to certain people. So I decided to keep it private to myself. But I was like, okay, so I calmed down after that. Imagine calming down after that. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna shut my eyes for a bit. So I lowered the blinds, the little flappy thing on the window, and then I had this feeling to look out again. And I look out and I see this tiny little white glimmering craft, or this little spot in the sky. And I was like, okay. So I took my phone and I zoomed in on it. It was just sitting there, glimmering in the sun. And I got footage of that one. And I was like, oh my God. So I logged all the times and everything. All these are in MUFON. I have a case for all of these. But so later, again, they were like, look out the window again. So I looked out the window, and there was a black craft this time, way off in the distance, just floating there. And I got a video of that one as well. So I felt like they were giving me an applause or an escort out of California, saying, good job, you did good, confirmation, cherry on top, you know? So that was beautiful.